Hey, good morning, friends. How are you today? I hope you're doing great. It's time to get started on a new week, and you can see I'm wrestling with this microphone here, but it's gonna be all right. How was your weekend? I hope it was great. Hope you did some fun things, or at least got to relax. Well, today's chat is when leadership looks different. You know, I get to have the privilege of talking with a lot of women, and I get to talk with them one-on-one and hear about their lives and hear about their stories. And one thing I find is common amongst a lot of women that I went through a long time ago as well is when you're trying to follow, but the leader that you're looking to isn't leading in the way that you would like them to lead. Now, a lot of times, like in a faith perspective, that comes down to your spouse, because, right, from a faith perspective, they're the leader of the home and you're supposed to be submitted to them and following them. Now, sometimes you might not even have a spouse yet, or sometimes I find that we're waiting for things to be all right before we even move forward in what we feel God is calling us to. So maybe you're waiting for a spouse. Maybe you're waiting for your child to get in line with what they're supposed to be doing. Maybe you're waiting for, all the equipment that you need to do whatever it is. Maybe you're waiting for your spouse to be on board and sitting beside you in the front seat at church and, reading their Bible every day. Maybe you're waiting for this to happen before you start moving forward because you think, well, if I'm supposed to be following, then they're supposed to be leading. But the question becomes, how do you follow someone that you don't feel like is leading? And that's the question that I asked myself a long time ago. And I got some revelation about it that I want to share with you today. The first thing that I would note to say to you is that first of all, you might be like, well, how do we create leaders from when we see our spouses or whatever and they're not leading, or our children, they're not walking in their full potential, our friends? One thing that we do is we speak to that leadership. We speak to the things that we see in them and we call them out as they will be, not as they necessarily are right now. So you've heard this illustration from me before, but just picture it like confetti in a bottle. And so that confetti's down there, and the more that you add that encouragement, the more that you add, it would be like adding water. The more that you say, hey honey, I see you as a leader. I see you're encouraging those people that you're talking to. You are a strong man. You are strong in your faith. So you're just pouring in that encouragement. You're pouring in that water. Guess what happens? The confetti rises to the top. You're a born leader. You are pouring that encouragement in about what you see in them and what you see in them in the future, and people will usually rise to their highest potential. So that's one way that we can encourage our spouses, our children to become leaders. The second thing is that I don't know about you, but there are some points where, I'd be like, well, if I can't trust him to lead. But somebody told me one time, don't worry about the person. You have to trust God in him. You have to trust God in Damien to take you to the places that you want to be. And don't stop worrying about and putting all that pressure on Damien. You trust God in him. So whatever you're dealing with, if you're looking to your spouse, sometimes it's hard when you feel like you can't trust them to lead you somewhere, but don't worry about it. You trust God in that person. That's it. You can trust God. But the third thing, and one of the most important things that it took me a long time to realize, is that sometimes we are looking for something specific, an expectation of what we think leadership looks like and maybe what it looks like for us. But guess what? Leadership can look different than you think it does. So, for instance, maybe you're waiting for your spouse to sit in the front row with you at church and read their Bible and proclaim Bible verses over your children and lead a family devotional and all of these things. And, you're waiting for them to do that before you move forward. But the truth is, sometimes their leadership looks different. So in my life, I've come to realize that, well, we all have different gifts. But for me, I've had to realize that Damien's leadership looks different than the expectations that I was putting on him. Those were my expectations. But his leadership looks like being secure enough that he can accept my giftings too, and that he can support me in my giftings and say, go on, go do it. And he's my number one supporter. And that is how he is leading me in this time in our season, is by saying, I see these giftings in you. You go forward. I'm 100% behind you. And I loved at a Propel conference a few years back, maybe like 3 years ago, Beth Moore was talking, and she is the author of a ton of amazing, powerful devotionals. And she was talking about her husband, how her husband doesn't even go to church. His church is hunting out in the woods, you know. So this guy of this famous devotional writer, preacher, I mean, Beth Moore is incredible. He supports her the most by allowing her to do what's in her giftings and callings, even if he doesn't go to church, her kind of church, her faith kind of church. But he's still leading by letting her do that. And so I just want to encourage you today, look for the ways that your spouse is actually leading. It might not look like your expectation. It might not look like you're thinking it's going to look. But sometimes leadership looks different in different people. So look for their ability in their giftings, in their areas that they're leading in. Encourage them in those and accept that they won't always look the way that you want them to look. We have to let go of those expectations. You know, I wrote an article a long time ago about how we keep people in the prison of our expectations, and I personally kept Damien in the prison of my expectations. And we have to open that prison door and let them go free from living up to whatever it is we're expecting, that sometimes it's not even them, it's us that has the problem. It's us that has this thing that we put on other people, expecting something from them that sometimes they can't even give you. And that is the worst, is when we put things on people that they can't even give us. So anyway, I hope that helps somebody today. I just want to encourage you, if you're out there, you're feeling called to do something, well, let me back up. If you're not feeling called to do something, you're feeling called to wait, then just wait. But if you're feeling called to do something, don't wait until it's all just right. Now is the time. Go for it. And as you step out, as you begin taking those little steps and walking forward, you're going to see things unfold before you that are going to be awesome. And we don't have to wait till everything's right. All right. Well, have a great week. Mwah. I love you all. Go live your big, amazing, beautiful lives. Bye.